Okay. All right. Much better result for Australia in the Opals there. And of course, couldn't just get anyone on. We had to get the halfway through the season NBL One North coach of this picked coach of the year. Caddie Jeffries, welcome back, of course, to Ball Don't Lie.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
No worries at all. We always like to get people who know what they're talking about. And hey.
You're scraping the bottom of the barrel here then.
Oh, come on now. All right.
I've off for the last, what has it been? 6 days, 5 days, whatever it is.
Fair. All right. Now, but before we get into it, just quickly, do have to give shout outs to Seahawks. You guys had an amazing season. Yes, it cut a little bit shorter than, obviously you guys wanted, but it also went deeper into the season than any Seahawks team that's come before. So big congratulations to you and, of course, everybody involved, everybody around the whole thing.
Yeah, it was good. Like I said to the girls after, it's always disappointing to drop a game, but looking back on that season, it's probably going to be a successful season. So, so I'm pretty happy with it. And I think what's good is I think we still had a good result, but there's still plenty to build on and improve. So, which is good signs. So.
Definitely. All right. Speaking of good signs, after the disaster, as Lauren Jackson now famously said, much better signs from the Opals tonight. What were some of the standouts on? Let's start on the offensive end.
I think a couple of players probably made me eat my words a little bit with, I sort of spoke about them not being selected, and then I think a couple of those girls stood up tonight. So I think the other night we panicked a lot. Rotation, like we got 11 subs through in the first quarter, and that's, players can't get into rhythm. Coaches are a bit all over the shop. So I think it was a bit of panic mode the other night. So I think today it was a little better. There's still some signs of that, but I think my thing the other night was thinking, well, if you want to play the style of play that you want to play, why have you picked 5 bigs and 3, sort of slower bigs? But I think tonight that's probably what helped them. So obviously Kayla had a really big game. I highly rate Tolo, and I think the other night she wasn't utilised enough. And obviously I think Nigeria were probably a little bit too fast for probably Tolo and Kayla. But I think Tolo's IQ, what she brings, she's, probably the only sort of back to the basket big that they have. Likes to obviously pick and roll a lot, which they got a lot out of tonight. So I think utilising those guys was good. Obviously Sammy was really good hitting big shots. And it was nice to see, we'll probably touch on a little bit more, but it was probably nice to see both Jade and Borlays get their first sort of touch. I think that was probably, or first basket go through. So that's probably good for both of them. But yeah, we can talk about those guys a little bit.
Well, especially Jade, like there was a couple of really good moments there where she got downhill early, built up the confidence, and then, had herself quite a good game, which was great to see. Defensive end, they looked better again.
Yeah, they did. It's still a concern, I think. In both games, I think my concern is as we get hopefully deeper into the tournament, they don't really have anyone that we can just throw on and say, just don't let that girl score. They don't have a defensive stopper. And I get disappointed because, I think we left Kunek at home, who probably could have done that as a really good job. So, and I think, unfortunately, with this group, they have to play so much in transition, so they have to generate stops. And if they don't have that person that can stop, Carlton's a known shooter, and we're sort of letting her get wide ass open shots. So, that's my concern, the defensive end. I'm not a massive, obviously, if you watched any NBL one, I'm not a massive hard show fan. And I think especially with the group that we have, with the bigger, slower bigs. So I think we're going to get pretty exposed in that middle on ball a fair bit if we don't make any adjustments. But, I think my concern is probably that end, because we have to play so much in transition, and if we can't get the stops, it's going to make it really hard.
Is the fact that Canada shot 35% from the field a little bit of concern, considering we only got up by 5?
Yeah, I think I looked at the stats. I mean, it was a low. I think both teams. I think Australia took 61, and I think Canada took 60 shots.
60.
So that's low, especially knowing Australia's style of play. But I think it also probably comes from that we did use Tolo, Kayla, Jackson a little bit more. It's obviously going to slow down, and Magin was going to slow down a fair bit having those guys in. So, I mean, you think if you looked at those stats, you'd think, oh, maybe we played brilliant defense. I don't think it was brilliant defense. I think they just missed shots. They missed a fair few free throws. I didn't look at their free throw stats. So, yeah, I think coming up against the European teams, even if we come up against some of the Asian teams who are not having the success that they usually have, but obviously can shoot from perimeter, it's going to be a concern, I think.
Yeah, in the end, Aussie got to the line 8 times. Only 8 times.
Yeah, that's what I looked at concerningly. So, again, with how big we are, that's a concern to me, I think. Like, why are we not getting the ball inside or getting feet in the paint? So,
yeah. Was there anyone tonight that you would have liked to seen a bit more of off the bench?
yeah, I was surprised that Wally didn't get more of a run. I think she was, I definitely don't think she was any better or worse than anyone the other night. So I'm surprised that she didn't get a go. And I think, I love Jade. I think I'm a massive Jade fan, but I think we've kind of thrown her in the the deep end fair bit with first Olympics starting point guard. So I think at least Wally can be that sort of, she can get the ball up. So I'm surprised that she didn't get a run tonight. But other than that, I don't think. Yeah, I think the rotations were better. Because I think Tolo. I mean, like I said, I really rate Tolo, and I think she deserves to be playing bigger minutes. So I was happy with that. But I think tonight she definitely did. There wasn't as much panic as there was the other night, and it was more just we're just going to roll with the guys that are kind of getting the job done, which I think was good. So
turnovers. You had 20 tonight.
Yeah, I think this is my thing, and this is probably what I've been saying that, with the selection, and again, everyone's a bit of a couch, and you don't see what's behind closed doors at, selection camps and all that sort of stuff. So my not issue, but my spin on things is I think we left Steph Reed, true point guard who can get the ball up at home, Kunek, who's got experience, can lock down someone defensively, and has played in Europe. Darcy Garbin, we've also left at home, who can get us a bucket when we need, has experience in Europe. So turnovers, I think, with the team that they picked, I think, and if you want to play that up-tempo style of play, which stats-wise doesn't show that tonight, but I think, knowing Australian style of play, that's what you want to play. I think turnovers are going to be high in this group, and you've also got a pretty young, not inexperienced, but a young point guard as well. So I think that's going to happen.
Were you as impressed? Well, I say impressed to compare to the first game by the team energy throughout the game just looked a lot higher. Continually throughout the game, they look, that desperation thing sort of, I think, is very much kicked in. They realize they need to come together. Mm-hmm. And as a group, they definitely look to be more into the timeouts. There was some actual energy around the team tonight.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Nigeria off as, and I think everyone sort of thinks, they're still, at the Olympics for a reason. So they're not an easy beating team. I think the hard part is Beck Allen out late is always going to cause, a lot of stuff would have been ran for her. So, and I think at the moment they're probably, especially the other night, they were probably trying to make that, okay, well now Beck Allen's gone, now it's Talbot. And I think Talbot's not that player. And I think that's why I think she was better tonight, because Talbot's not Beck Allen. And I think Talbot is a slasher. She is really, really good at her role. But as a leader right now, she's not, she's coming back from injury. She's still only quite young. So I think that's why we got more out of her tonight, because we played the more experienced Tolos, Georges, Magin, and Talbot could just do her role. So I definitely think the energy was better. I think the other thing that we sort of you take for granted a little bit is we don't have that person, and unfortunately with George, I don't think playing her best basketball, Madgen, struggling with injury over the past few years, we don't have that person that's the leader that we can still go to, like a Jenna O'Hay that we've lost over the previous years, and that you can still throw on. So, and I think that's probably why like Kayla couldn't play big minutes the other night, because I think Nigeria were too quick for her, and I think probably down the stretch of the tournament that's going to happen again. So we've lost probably arguably our best player, I think, in Beck Allen, or experience and whatnot. Plus, we don't have that leader that we can still have on the floor that can contribute when times get tough. So I think tonight it was probably lucky that those guys stepped up a little bit. But yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge moving forward. That's going to be you can't have them on the floor, but we need their leadership. Where does it sort of fit, I guess?
And thoughts going into France game. Obviously, we're still in this Olympics and we're still going, and yay, but do you have any concerns going into France?
Yeah, my concern watching our 2 games now, some of the other games I haven't watched all of them, but even watching our 3x3 tonight, my concern is playing a European team, because out of all of these Olympics, and it's not going to happen, but we have to look at the refereeing in Australia. Like, we've made the game so soft. Our girls can't navigate an on ball and we flop at everything. And we've talked about my feelings on flopping. Still a sore point after Saturday, but let's not talk about it. But watching our 3x3 girls against America in the game, and did they play Germany? No. Did they play Germany today? I can't even remember. Our 2 games now against Nigeria and Canada, we're just so soft. We shy away from any contact. So my concern is, I think WNBA is a little bit like that. I think Australia's the worst by far, but WNBA's become a little bit like that. So I think coming up against a European team who are super physical, fast, I obviously am trying to be really, really positive, but I do have concern. And obviously, it's a must-win game, and it's in their home country. So, and they beat Canada by 20. So we can hope that Nigeria can knock them off, and hopefully it's a weird sort of, mathematical equation. But, yeah, I think it's going to be really, really tough. So hopefully we keep building, but it just depends on who sort of steps up. And I think, if Ezzy, I really rate Ezzy. Alana Smith the other night, I think, was their best player against Nigeria, but tonight wasn't her night. So I think if we have to rely on the people like Kayla, Tess, Madgen to get it done, I think we're going to struggle.
Okay. All right. But we got the win tonight, so we're still in it.
Let's go with the positives for now. But no, I think, like I said, it was a lot better. And I think, picking a young team, they picked Izzy and they picked Jade. You're sort of always going to have a little bit of teething issues, but unfortunately, there's not good and bad. There's not a quick turnaround in tournaments like this. So.
No, well, that is the problem with this tournament play. You drop the first one, and all sorts of panic stations go off because you can't afford to drop that next. So,
no, and sometimes you don't want to go through tournament play undefeated, but you just have to be really, really careful on the games that they can come back to bite you sometimes. So,
for sure. All right, Caddie. Well, thank you very much for staying up late to watch the game and giving us your breakdown. We really appreciate it, as always.
No worries.
And hey, can't wait to see you back back with the clipboard and telling referees that hey, that wasn't a foul. Come on.
Yeah, let's not talk about the flopping. That's a bit too soon, but no, we'll not for a while. I will not have a clipboard in my hand. I'm not coaching any juniors. No, I'm having a break for a little while, but then we'll get back to it.
Famous last words. I know.